Hey, Chris, it's great to see you, man.
Morning, Alice. How are we doing?
Very, very good, very good. A stormy day ahead. Actually, it's not stormy. It's the sun is shining and it's wonderful out there. But the picture is from a different day, which was stormy.
Well, you can see here it's a very still day. The leaves are barely moving on the tree.
I know there's no wind
I'm
at all.
having to take this call in the garden office, but the internet is proving unreliable, as is the way. So I'm now doing it from the nursery.
It's okay,
Which
man.
isn't quite plan A, but you've got to go with the flow, as they say.
We are flexible, and that's all about that's all about being a hospitality professional, being flexible and adjusting to the needs.
Making it happen no matter what, right?
Yeah, I know. Talking about stores, you heard about Debenhams and 12,000 jobs gone?
Yeah, and then it'll be top shop next, probably.
Yeah, it's looking
or Arcadia.
It's looking quite difficult at the moment, but the whole purpose of hospitality stories is to try and look also at the positive side. And it's great to have you because I know you as Chris, the catering consultant, and we haven't had, I think, somebody who yet in the hospitality story, somebody with a background like yours. So, do you want to tell us about your career history, how you decided to do a degree in hospitality, and what you've done since your degree?
Sure. Happy to do that. Yeah, my story's been an interesting one, and I'm going to go back to school, but I'll make it as quickly as possible. Is that at school at A levels, I got a record mark for design. I thought, right, that's where my future lies. Went to university to Nottingham Trent, did product design, had a good time. I mean, Nottingham Trent was amazing. But as the course progressed, I found myself drawing ladies' clothes freehand and thought, well, this is not what I do. I'm sort of a pencil and ruler sort of drawer. My original plan was to become an architect. So I started to lose interest. I started spending more time. Let's say I got distracted. I lived with five guys. We had every DVD, VHS. Again, that'll only certain members of your audience will know what that is. Sign of the times. And games console. And anyway, I realized that I was wasting money, to put it nicely, and time. Took a year and a half out, worked at Pizza Hut in Crawley, third busiest Pizza Hut in the UK. Had a great time there. But people asked me, how can you do that job every day? And I said, well, the only thing that's the same is the journey to and from work. Apart from that, every customer experience is different, although I couldn't put it so succinctly then. So I realized that that's where my passion and my future lay. A friend of the family used to be a lecturer in hospitality for another university, or for a university. I rang him up. He sent me all his textbooks, but he said, go to Surrey, it's the best. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. He knows his stuff, he's written books, so I thought, great, I'll do that. Managed to get myself an interview with a gentleman called Peter Alcott, who I believe you know fairly well.
Yeah, he still owes me a barbecue.
Really?
Good.
I'm sure his excuse is after lockdown, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I don't know how many years now, 12 years since he promised me one?
Oh dear. Well, Peter's a reasonable guy. I'm sure he'll let you run interest on that.
Peter, if you're listening, Chris and I are waiting for that barbecue. You better do it, man. All right, let's go back to Chris.
I'm sure he would. Anyway, so I rocked up. I think Peter was running late. I met one of his deputies and spoke to members of his team. I didn't quite have the A-level grades. I think I was a couple of points short, as it used to be in the old system. Lo and behold, a few days later, I got an unconditional offer because of the way I spoke to the team and the enthusiasm I had for the subject.
And you would
the rest of the day is history.
You would have come, of course, as a mature student through that entry, right? You didn't come through the normal route.
Well, I wasn't that old. I was 20. What was I? I only was a year and a half, 2 years behind.
Right. Yeah, it's only.
I was borderline.
Okay, I'm with you.
But yeah, so what I learned from that was do something that you're interested in and not what you're good at. And someone told me that many years ago, but it took a while for it to take root, because I realized that when times get tough, if you're interested in it rather than good at it, you will pursue it. It will see you through the difficult times. So that's the only bit of advice I like to part on to anyone who's at a juncture in their life as to what they want to do.
So you were in your, before your degree, you were in restaurants, if you like, your experience. But then somehow your career moved into the catering business. How did that happen?
Yeah, so at university, I did a placement year at a catering consultancy where I did kitchen audits, and it was quite an interesting experience. I would go and audit kitchens, health and safety, hygiene, food storage practices, etc., etc. And I could literally feel these very, let's say, established senior chefs sharpening their knives behind my back while I'm going through all their Tupperware, their dating, their storerooms. Honestly, it was torture. And then I had to write these laborious reports on it. But these things make us experts at what we do, don't they? These sort of experiences. So that's where I got a taste of contract catering, predominantly in London, the suburbs, and Edinburgh.
And throughout your career, I mean, because I followed your career, I had an interest in, and you contributed to one of our books as well with a small case study. So thank you again for that. But you seem to have a lot of experience in the public sector as well, even higher education. I remember, one of your early roles were in the British Museum, and I'm not going to name some of the universities that in some of the consultancy you worked with, but you have quite a lot of experience with that particular sector, right?
Yeah, visitor attraction, certainly, as an operator.
Yeah.
So before I even graduated, I started working at the British Museum, and I was within 2 or 3 months there, operating 2 cafes with a turnover of £2.2 million, managing 30 staff, and had a manager who'd been there at least 8 years who wanted my job, who couldn't understand why this graduate had come in, and his wife was head of HR for the company that had just been booted out to the British Museum. So let's say baptism by fire, but I think London offers you these opportunities unlike anywhere else. So I enjoyed every minute of it, and that's where I learned to work hard and play hard, and doing so in London was just an incredible opportunity. But so visitor attractions was my background.
If you were to compare work with visitor attractions in catering versus higher education, because I know you've done some projects in higher education, and what are the similarities or differences between the two?
Well, visitor attraction, as per retail, is a fully commercial offer because the caterers live and die by the money they take in the tills.
Right.
Whereas higher education, let's say universities as an example, it's more of a support service. Let's say it's part of the overall, rather it shapes the overall student experience, which I know is paramount and affects is it the NSS, the student surveys, which I know all universities take very seriously the scores they get from that. Although I would like to see catering questions on there, but I do have a singular bias. I appreciate that. But no, but therein lies the challenge for higher education clients. Is it a fully commercial offer? Is it support service? Chances are it's a spectrum, and dial sits somewhere differently for each client. But I know that's one of the challenges they face on a daily basis.
Yeah. And is there more red tape when you work for universities?
There's lots of politics, simply because there's so many stakeholders. It's not a criticism of universities, but and also, as you'll appreciate, the service tends to evolve over time. Universities are not new businesses by any means. And campuses evolve, so the facilities, the topography, the geography is very complex. So whilst the obvious thing it would be to put your main catering outlet in the middle of the university campus where it's the most accessible, buildings, land, space does not always permit building constraints. It's not that simple. Universities are far more complex.
Oh, thank you.
And also, sorry, just to finish on that, is repetition of offer. So, do you have 10 catering outlets across campus that all sell the best-selling products, jacket potatoes, burgers, chips, etc., etc.? Probably not. Okay, and, there's student well-being to think about, but probably more importantly is variety. People want to eat at different places. They don't want to have a burger and chips every day or a jacket potato.
Well, thank you for that insight. What is the current state of affairs with the catering business?
Well, I can only speak mainly from a workplace or food at work perspective. These are very challenging times. So a company called WSH, one of the largest UK independent caterers, who have Benugos on the high street. They have Baxter Story, who do workplace catering. They have education catering in Holroyd Howe. And CSC is the events company business. So CSC's events, obviously no one's been having events, so their business has been zero. And when I say zero, I'm talking about lockdown 1.0, not 2.0. But still, the business is nothing what it was. Obviously, the high street outlets were closed, so their turnover was zero. Workplaces were closed, or no one was going in, so Baxter Story's turnover was down. The schools were closed during lockdown 1.0. They saw their turnover down 90% by all accounts.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Phone. And yes, it's really affected a lot of the caterers, with the exception of the big ones like Compass and Sodexo, who have, dare I say, the non-sexy government healthcare contracts that have kept the cash coming in for them.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Now I'll move us on because I want us to keep. Well, I don't know if the next question is going to keep us a bit, because I know you're quite interested in social media, and we had a different discussion a while back about the social dilemma and the use of social media and so forth. So at the time you suggested that I watch it, the social dilemma with the family, which I did. We had to do it in 3 different sittings with the family. It was quite heavy watching. So what are your views about social media and hospitality and social media and work and social media and life?
God, that's not a small question, is it, Yanis? But I expect nothing less. Certainly, I think social media is a powerful good used properly, but not everyone uses it properly, consciously or unconsciously. I think without regulation, it can be quite dangerous. But if we focus on our industry, I mean, some of the points in the film don't really impact hospitality in the way they do, let's say, society. Social media can be a force for good. Positive reviews can be great, but then you've got the fake reviews that can kill someone's business overnight, just through, how can I put it, through people with ulterior motives.
Different hidden agendas.
That's the tragedy. That's the danger of it.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, you've worked also for. I think you've worked with some small businesses and some, or at least quite a few of small business owners. Do you find that trying to manage social media or trying to cope with, you talked about reviews earlier. Do you think it's quite hard for somebody who has a small business to try and deal with, especially when there's some negative reviews, when they didn't have the training and possibly haven't got even the not just the training but the support, both physically to respond to all these comments, but also thinking about mental health and what kind of stress. You already have enough problems with your business, having customers who are using social media possibly as an excuse to say, well, you either give me a better service or you give me something free, or I'm going to start putting reviews.
Well, there's many sides to that. I think one thing you taught me at university was a noisy customer is better than a quiet customer, because at least you know what they're thinking and you get the opportunity to turn it around. So, at least now people can respond to negative comments and say, right, come and see me, I'd like to discuss further, etc., etc. another point is social media training. Absolutely. There's a new coffee shop that's just opened down the road from me. And they use Instagram very well. I follow them on Instagram, but it's just a number of pictures of coffee, but that's their core product. They do it well, and every photo that they put on Instagram follows that theme with a one-line comment. So I think, obviously, like life, there's a balance to this. But probably one of the most important things here, and does tie back into the film, is what's called negativity bias. So you get 99 great comments, you get one bad one, you get hung up on that. But actually, I mean, social media is a tool.
There's also,
like with any tool, it's how you use it.
I mean, you
determines the results.
Yeah, you mentioned negativity bias. There's also the problem with not just social media, but also, when people do search to try to find some information about a local restaurant, you also have confirmation bias, because people forget or maybe don't know that search engines and websites have algorithms that keep, you might know them as cookies, but they keep track of what you like and dislike, and you always get the stuff that are connected to you. So and basically you get confirmed. If you say you're interested about one particular product or one particular service, you're going to get a lot about that. You're not going to hear from the people that you don't follow, or the people that you don't like, or the products or services you don't follow or like. So it's,
indeed, you only hear voices similar to yours.
Yeah.
And also, coming back to search engines, is Google were in court, weren't they, fairly recently in the US, for favoring their products in their search results.
I mean, even with sponsored products in any search engine, you get stuff on YouTube is the second biggest search engine. People forget that, and there are a lot of sponsored videos. There's a lot of sponsored adverts on Google.
Do you know 70% of YouTube views are recommended videos?
Yeah. I mean, that's how the algorithm of YouTube is pushing you to watch the videos, no matter what the content might be, right?
Yeah.
And that's the danger. I mean, I'm very aware about, especially YouTube, because my kids love listening to these YouTubers. And I learned a new term yesterday, which I already forgot, something about YouTubers showing the whole life for a number of days, constantly. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll ask my daughter again. She told me about it. But it's quite scary, because that kind of content, I don't think it's evolved yet. The spidering, the structuring, if you like, of the web is not evolved. So for us parents to be able to easily see what kind of content comes in the videos, and that is quite scary. But
indeed, you're facing those challenges I'm going to be facing in 10 years, but who knows what it's going to look like in 10 years, given how quickly it's evolved.
Yeah.
In 20 years, when it used just to be a gimmick, a bit of fun.
And I think bringing back to hospitality, I think we can learn from all of this, and hospitality professionals and academics can work together and in research that actually solves problems, not just research that sits on a shelf. And that's what I'm hoping a lot of colleagues are doing, and they're trying to do. But let's move on a little bit about our students now, right? We've got a bunch of them who are about to graduate, and I want us to think about some ideas maybe that can help them. So I'm just going to ask you about, if you think about your most productive day, and you can pick a day in the past, or think of the elements that make a productive day super productive for you. What is it that keeps you motivated, keeps you productive every day?
The feeling of being productive is what drives me. So after I've had my first coffee, I have a to-do list. I tick off the easy wins, get them done, whether it be a few emails, or how could I put it, go and find something that I need to find in the archives. And then I try to tackle the bigger things on the to-do list, try and get one done before lunch, but I find after lunch is when I'm at my best, and also in the evening when the house is quiet, although that window is sadly gone now since I've become a father. I find I've tried to do that before, sit down at like 9 o'clock when the house is quiet, everyone's asleep, maybe a glass of wine, and the last time I tried that, I fell asleep on the keyboard, so that didn't go too well.
Okay, that was not productive. So you
Well, from a sleep perspective, it was very productive.
yeah, you'll be relaxed for the next day.
Yeah.
Any other tips that you want to give anybody who's listening?
Again, you don't ask the easy questions, do you? Well, you just got to find your natural preference. If there are tasks you don't like doing, try and identify why you don't like doing them in order to, how can I put it, overcome those challenges, those barriers.
No, I mean,
also, work out, keep a diary, a journal of your day, and find out when you are at your most productive and when you're at your most distracted. And it could be after food. Again, diet is another thing we probably won't stray into, but that can severely affect your attention span, particularly after lunch.
I think if I summarize, you talked about being organized, you talked about rituals or habits, and then you talk about, I think, quite important, identifying the best time of your day, and it's different for each person, and being able to organize either the most important bits, or in your case, get rid of the easy wins, and then at least attack one of the big ones. I think that's good advice. So I'm going to just one last advice. If for our students who are about to graduate, I mean, we keep on getting negative news every day. We started this video with talking about the news on Debenhams. Today that we're filming this video is not a great day in terms of people losing their jobs. So our students are getting stressed, if you like, about the future. And when they graduate, are there going to be any jobs out there? So with that in mind, what advice would you give them?
Again, not an easy question, and given the state of the economy, and particular my specialist field, food at work or workplace catering, contract catering, the shape of that right now, very hard to say, but certainly, well, I guess additional training, qualifications, anything to keep the mind sharp and the fingers busy is good. But again, come back to my point earlier, life is about balance. If you can get some sort of on-the-job training, no matter how poorly paid, but just try and get some relevant work experience, even if it's only for a few hours, as well as continuing with a formal training qualification to keep the mind sharp. I think as and when the opportunities arise, you will be top of the pile.
Thank you very much.
People won't employ someone who's sat on their laurels for months upon a time, waiting for an opportunity they believe is theirs. Companies employ the go-getters, the people who are proactive and show commitment to themselves and to be better, to be top of the pile, to stand out from the crowd.
Well, that's fantastic advice, Chris. If they just listen half of that and they take on board half of what you just said, I think they'll do great. And it's about not losing hope, and it's about, as you said, stay busy and filling your CV with elements that make you different and that you stand out. But another positive, as you said, go and do some of the training outside of your course even, and there is the beauty of it. COVID has brought a lot of kindness in people, and there's so much content out there. So many training courses for free. Yeah, and a number of consultants have been giving their time for free. A number of associations have come together. The Caterer, by the way, have created a careers hub. I don't know if you knew this. It's relatively recent. So, just go to the careers hub of thecaterer.com and have a look at what they have there and start getting inspiration on what else you can learn. And we didn't touch on the connection between the design and the hospitality, but maybe that's an interview for another time. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure. And let's keep on pushing Peter Alcott to get us that barbecue going.
Indeed. Well, we've got it on record now.
Exactly. Anyway, have a great day.
Cheers, Giannis. Thanks a lot, man.
Bye.
Cheers.